está Darko Peric para Back to Basketball.
Darko, thank you for joining us today. We're here to talk to you about basketball and your love of the sport. So let's go back to the beginning. In growing up in the former Yugoslavia, everyone from Yugoslavia says sport was huge. It was a big part of our lives growing up, and basketball very much at the centre of that. It's a huge sport in your part of the world. So what were your first memories of basketball, watching and playing it?
Hi Andy, thank you for inviting me here. Especially I remember now when you just said that, one thing came to my mind. It's that in Yugoslavia especially was good in the team sports, you know, like football, volley, handball. But then in Serbia, after the war, the basketball was the main sport. So yeah, I remember growing up in Yugoslavia in 80s, you know, that was especially end of the 80s was a hype. You know, we had all those stars like Dražen Petrovic, Vlade Divac, Danilovic, Đorđević, Paspalj, Kukoc, Raja, that generation, you know, they really marked not only European basketball, but also American basketball, you know. There was like a kind of first generation that went to US to play in NBA. So that was like, from the small country, it was like, wow. So as a kid growing up there, of course, I was playing basketball. Everybody was playing basketball, you know, it was something normal there, like having a basketball. And I lived in the small town. We had for that kind of town, we had a pretty big school. I remember there was 2,000 kids studying there from all around villages, you know, so that was a really big school. So I remember we had like few courts, basketball courts, and my grandparents was living just in the front of the school, so I was hanging all day there.
And so your playing experiences when you were young, when you were a boy, you played in your school team and for local clubs as well?
Yeah, I was playing in a school team, yeah, because I left my town when I had, for the high school, I left my town, so I went to the other town, but basically as I always said, you know, I had that big lapsus of basketball, you know, that period of almost 20 years when I was studying in Romania, living in Berlin. In Romania, for example, there was no basketball, you know, that was for me first thing that I go out from my country. So yeah, in the school I remember I was playing a center, you know, because I was not so tall, you know, but of the small town, you know, I was big always. So yeah, and no, really I have really some very, very nice memories connected to basketball, you know, in my town.
And watching on TV, I guess you were able to enjoy different leagues. And what were the main leagues you could actually see? Was there NBA, European basketball, Yugoslav basketball?
I remember more Yugoslav basketball, but I remember in 80s was Yugoslav basketball because we had like this big four, like Cibona, Jugoplastika, Zvezda and Partizan, Red Star. And but after the 90s, I mean, I'm the generation that we say bye-bye to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, you know, and we welcome Jordan, Kukoc, Divac, all those big names in 90s, you know.
And you mentioned already the large number of Yugoslav players who found fame and success on a global stage. That must have been, not just for you, but for everyone from the region, especially in the terrible times of the 90s, a big positive, and one of the few positives that you had to see our people enjoying so much success globally.
I remember that, you know, they even made songs about basketball players. You know, Divac have a song, you know, and Bodiroga have a song in Serbia. You know, they are like. You know, like leitmotiv, you know, for the young people in Serbia. I mean, you've probably been in Serbia, you saw like there's kids there playing everywhere. I mean, somehow basketball in Serbia in 90s was like the only escape, you know, if you want to do something, because you were studying, but in the end you finish your school and you find a job, and I mean, the economy was really bad after the war, all of that. And then everybody was thinking about like, okay, if Divac's good, I can too, you know, I'm gonna play basketball, I'm gonna try. I mean, and after that, not only in US, but also in Europe, you have lots of Serbian especially, because there was no more Yugoslavia in 90s, but you have lots of Serbian basketball players all over, you know, starting from Spain, Greece, Italy. I mean, and also coaches, you know, look now, look EuroLeague today, look France, for example, you know. It's just like, you know, like you have 2 or 3 Serbian coaches there, you know, you have here Serbian coaches, you have in Russia, it's... Yeah.
And obviously first and foremost among those is Zelko Obradovic.
Of course.
Tell us about him and your relationship with him. You know him a little?
Yeah, I know Jelko because I know his daughter. She's an art lover, so we met like that. And then I met Jelko, and Jelko is, I mean, for Serbia, not only for Serbian sport, you know, just like for Serbian general culture, is a big thing, you know. It's like great persona. And of course, I mean, he's the guy who won like 9 titles, you know, of European basketball, you know, and now is coaching the team that probably going to bring him next year in the EuroLeague, and that will be amazing, you know. So now I had a chance to go to Belgrade like a few months ago, and I've been there. I saw the game at the Pionir, Alexander Nikolic Hall, Red Star Panathinaikos. That was the first time for me to go to see the game in Belgrade, you know. And it was just like amazing, you know. The hall is not bigger than Palau Blaugrana, but it's like louder, 10 times louder, you know. And then I went to see Jelko coaching, like one training of Partizan club. Then I met Divac, then I met Paspal. They brought me to some legendary places like Hala Sportova. And those things, man, is really like history. You see the history there, you know. I'm from Serbia and I've never been there, you know. So this for me was really like, wow.
And moving to EuroLeague basketball and staying in Belgrade, your first experience of the Final Four was 2018, the Final Four in Belgrade. How did the country and the city embrace the fact that European basketball's elite competition and the final weekend was coming to Belgrade?
Yeah, that was crazy, and also that was like for me amazing experience, because that was basically the first time I went with a work to Serbia and to work on the Final Four, you know, and that event in Serbia was, I mean, there was a lot of Turkish people, and that was funny because at that time the show I'm in, you know, was not so famous in Serbia, but in Turkey was huge, you know. So I arrived in Belgrade, and I remember my friend Diego was there as well, you know. All the Turkish fans was jumping on me. I was like, wow. And of course, that experience was amazing. Final Four 2018. Yeah, it's almost 4 years now, no? It's gonna be, yeah.
What are your main memories of that Final Four? Of either the games or behind the scenes or the people you met?
I remember amazing play of Luka Doncic back then. He was a young kid, you know, with Real Madrid, and I remember all the arena in Belgrade was with Fenerbahce because of Obradovic, you know. But me, I was like, oh my God, this kid deserved it. He was the MVP that year also. So yeah, that was, and the atmosphere was amazing. I remember Žalgiris fans also there. Like, I remember one guy came from Chicago, Lithuanian guy came from Chicago just to see the game at the Final Four. So yeah, it was a big event for Belgrade.
And you've had, of course, the opportunity, if we talk about the documentary, to really get behind the scenes at a Final Four. And not only that, but being in the privileged position of being the only basketball fan who actually could attend, because obviously Cologne had to be behind closed doors. So it must have been a strange feeling to be a basketball fan, but to be working, but to be the only fan in this environment, this closed environment where you weren't just there, you were really in the middle of it all with all the players and the teams around you.
Yeah, for me it really was a unique experience. I just remember last year we went to Cologne, and when I saw like arena there, that's amazing spot to have like Final Four event, but unfortunately I was the only one, and it was really weird. And for me, I was a little bit sad, you know, because, you know, players also, you know, we are there, like players and actors, we are there because of the public. Without them, we don't exist, you know. So, but yes, on the other side, the games was amazing. The atmosphere, as I said before, we was in the same hotel, so the atmosphere there was also amazing. You get closer somehow, because if it's lots of people.
Yeah, so there was more intimacy because there were less distractions.
There was more intimacy, definitely.
Seeing the documentary, one thing that stands out is the time that you spent with Mitrovic, who obviously a fellow Serbian. That must have been really special for you to spend time with him and then see his success in winning the title and being named MVP.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I don't really go for the teams. I go for the players. You know, I'm also like a friend with Mitrovic. You know, and for me, the most tough moment was when I went down to the locker room. You know, after the game of CSKA and Anadolu. You know, and just the night before I was at the table with Itudis and some other players. And then after you see them after losing the game, you know, and also when the final game was Barca Anadolu, for me that moment also was tough, because I see my friends there, you know, like on the other side you see these friends here, but you see there, and but yeah, then again, it's as I said, it's why I'm doing movies and this, because in the movies, in the series, the good guys always win. In the basketball, it's not like that, you know.
But one moment that surely stood out, where a lot of the time with this documentary you were behind the camera, but this time you were in front of the camera, on the floor, just minutes after the Final Four had ended, with Mitrovic, singing a song with him. That must have been a memorable moment for you. You
just mentioned before Arlaucas, Joe, our friend Joe. He was there and he said, I mentioned that because the morning in the hotel, we was with Milutinov and Mitrovic was listening like music, and he said, you know why we're gonna win? Because look, I don't listen to this trap and hip hop and this. Look what I listen. And it was like this Serbian folk song, you know. And then I said that, you know, I know. I said to Joe, I said, I know why he won, you know. I know why he won, because he was listening to that kind of music. And then he said, really, can you sing that? And that get viral, you know, that video was really crazy.
And those Serbian songs that you were singing, are they ones that everyone from your region knows, that you grew up with?
That's really famous Serbian song. It's not really happy one, but, you know, that's the one that he was listening, you know, and that's the one that he had getting in mind. But it's really famous. It's huge in Serbia. Everybody knows. You just start a little bit to sing, and everybody knows that song. You know?
You said a few times during the making of the documentary that you were combining work with pleasure. Now you look back on it, now it's finished. What do you think of it more as? Was it work or was it pleasure?
Both. I mean, I decided in my life, you know, you cannot do only pleasure, you know, and the same with the work. You cannot do only work. So for me, it's always work and pleasure. I prefer that, you know, and this documentary definitely was work and pleasure, you know, because we had like some time shooting and we have to do this and to do that, and especially those PCR tests in Germany, that was not really pleasure, but then you have to see the game, you go around, yeah, definitely work and pleasure.
And what about you with basketball now? Do you play?
To be honest, I used to play, but then I broke my leg last year. And now, yeah, I play. Now I'm playing with my son. Now my son is like 6 years old. He's also training basketball. He starts this year to train basketball, so I'm going with him. But I'm gonna go back. Next year, I think I'm gonna go back. I have friends, they're 40s and some. So, yeah, I like playing basketball, of course.
We saw that in the documentary as well, with you taking those three-point shots in the park that couldn't quite go in.
Yeah, because I told you I broke my leg and I was out of the shape. Yeah.
And watching basketball as well, the big difference since the Final Four in Cologne is that now, thankfully, we do have fans back. And as you said, you went to the game in Belgrade, the Panathinaikos game. You also went to El Clasico as well.
Yeah, of course.
So you're getting the chance to watch basketball where you're not the only one, where there are other fans.
Yeah, no. Now it's because before it was normal watching basketball with fans, so you cannot imagine watching basketball without fans. That is like when you go training but then I remember watching basketball without fans. You just watch basketball, you know. Where's the fans? There's always something that distracts you. But yeah, of course, it's much better with the fans, I think, and for the players. for the players. It was really weird, like listening like shoes and the coaches yelling. But no, definitely, it's much better.
And I heard a story that basketball played a big part in your work life as well. I don't know how much there is in this, but that you were playing basketball in Barcelona and an acting agency spotted you at that moment.
Yeah, man, that's when you think about that, it's really the life sometimes. It's so mysterious, you know. Yeah, of course. Before I used to live in Poblenou. I was going there regularly, like playing basketball. And one of those days, my ex-agent passed with the bicycle and saw me, you know, with the tattoos, with the beard, all that look that I had, you know. She said, "Wow, so interesting face. You should do this. You should like some publicity." But she didn't know that I was acting already, you know, before too. And then so like that I went first casting, second casting, and I start like that, you know, but everything starts on that court in Poblenou, so it's really crazy, you know. And look where I am now, you know.
And she became your agent from
that
random meeting?
She was for many years my agent, yeah. It was really crazy, yeah.
And just finally, what do you think about how EuroLeague basketball has developed over the last 20 years or so? Because you mentioned you had a period where you weren't really involved, able to see basketball, and now you've come back to it. It's probably bigger than it ever was before.
That's what I'm thinking. And I hope it's not only about me, because I'm kind of obsessed about that now. But I also see like many people going to the basketball games, talking about basketball. I see it big, you know. And not only EuroLeague, there's a EuroCup as well. It's amazing competition, EuroCup, you know. There's amazing quality of basketball there, you know. And having 2 leagues like that, strong in Europe, it's amazing, it's nice.
Just one thing I want to pick up on that actually, you were saying EuroCup, Badalona is a team, and Joel Parra, I believe, is a player you particularly like?
Yeah, of course, I called him Dennis Rodman from Badalona. And Badalona, Juventud, they're like, I like that team because they are, most of them are locals, you know, local kids who train there and start there. And it's really, this year they are going really, I think they are the second in the group, alongside with Partizan. That's going to be a tough game. And of course, then on the other side, you have teams like Virtus, you know. Virtus should be in EuroLeague, you know, and you have teams like Valencia, you have, I don't know, it's really tough competition. I like that.
You enjoy basketball so much that not only do you want to watch it and play it, but now coach it.
I want to combine these 2 worlds, you know, and I said I want to know more. Not only as a fan, I want to have like general knowledge. And he said, "Look, we have this EuroLeague Coaches Board Academy. You want to be, you want to study there? It's online this first year." And I said, "Why not? You know, having a chance to hear these great names like Obradovic, like Itudis, like Lasso, like Sharas, you know, like to have all of them, you know, teaching you." So yes, I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna coach, although I got some proposals, you know. You're coach, that would be great, would you come? No, I think it's just like for my general culture and to enjoy even more the game, you know.
Well, there's the next documentary, actually. You become Saras's assistant at Barca, and we follow you all season, fly on the wall.
Who knows, you know? As I said before, life is really mysterious, you know, you never know.
Well, thank you for your time today. It's been great to get to know a bit more about you and your basketball passion.
So much. Mira. Back to basketball.